Hello, friend. I'm sure glad you stopped along again at Make His Path Straight. It's just you and me here. And today we're going to learn again how to climb to Bible ground. That's our goal. But sometimes it could be a kind of a confusing thing to do. But what I've learned and what I want to share with you is that as I thought about how Jesus asked questions of us, he did so in order to inform us, in order to give us better insight as to the walk. Last time we met, we asked the question, who do you say I am? A very important question. Who do you say Jesus is? Today, our question is this. Do you want to get well? That's the question that Jesus is going to ask you today. Do you want to get well? Let's begin, shall we? Our text is John 5. I would encourage you to open your scripture, take your tablet out, and follow along. That would be great. In terms of backstory, we're at the pool of Bethesda. Now, Bethesda means house of pouring out, a house of kindness and mercy. It's a beautiful name, and many interesting things were happening in Bethesda. There is at Jerusalem, John writes, by the place of the sheep, a pool called in Hebrew Bethesda, having 5 porches or porticos, in which lay a great multitude, look at that, a great multitude of sick folk, of blind, halt, withered, waiting for the moving of the water. For an angel went down at a certain season into the pool and troubled the water. Whosoever then first, after the stirring of the water, stepped in, was made whole of whatever disease he had. Now, this is a great mystery. There's no figuring this part out in terms of why that angel came down and behaved in a certain way, but it happened often enough that there was a great multitude of people observing this miracle, and they would try and get in that pool, and the first person in got healed. I don't understand it. I don't know how that goes. You can work that over a little bit, but now we get to the crux of our story. And a certain man was there, which had been diseased 38 years. Now hold on a minute. You got to wear your lead shoes when you read the Bible. Think about that. 38 years, right? He was diseased for 38 years. Holy mackerel. Put yourself in his shoes. Put yourself in the situation there as Jesus comes to talk to him. See, Jesus saw him lying there. And of course, he knew that he'd already been a long time in that condition. So he says to him, what does he say? Do you wish to get well? Really? Of course, naturally he wished to get well. And Jesus is asking you and I the same question, but then we have to stop and think, really, do I want to get well? Let's see what the man said to him. Well, the sick man answered him and said, well, actually, I have no one to put me into the pool. So the water's stirred up, but yet while I'm trying to get down in there, someone else stepped down before me. You see, you can understand his thinking, but we have to observe he was looking in a fixed direction. Healing to him only came from one way of viewing healing, only came with one way of him to look at things differently. That's the same with you and I. We try and figure our circumstances and the conditions of our life, the relationships we have, and we figure God's got to heal this up and he's going to do it in a certain way, one direction. But see, Jesus, as you know, doesn't work that way with him or with us. So what does Christ say to him? Jesus said to him, get up. Really? He's been laying there on that pallet 38 years. Get up, pick up your pallet, and walk. Wow. See, he didn't address that man's idea of healing, and nor very often yours and mine. God takes a different tact. He challenges. He says, get up when get up is the last possible thing that you and I can do. And what happens when Jesus said that? At once the man was healed, and he took up his bed and he walked. Wow, that's some really crazy stuff. So let's make it personal, shall we? Just between you and I. Jesus is asking you, do you want to get well? There's something going on in your life. There's some disease that's been following you along, hampering you, something short term, something long term. Do you really want to get well? Let's investigate that for ourselves, huh? The first thing we have to do is to seek the truth about ourselves. We got to find out what is going on inside. You will seek the Lord your God, and you'll find him. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You'll seek him, and you'll find him. If you search for him with all your heart and all your soul. Sometimes our seeking for God, sometimes our prayer to God, maybe have some tears in there, might be feeling a bit sincere, but really is my whole heart, is my whole mind, will, and emotion his? Am I seeking him that hard, right? What's my motives? Do I have some blind spots in my life? Am I really kind of reluctant to do what Jesus does and to walk the Jesus path with him? I have to seek the truth, and then I got to face that truth. I got to face that truth about myself. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness. That's a great truth. If I'm living unrighteously, if I'm living ungodly, making the world my God, making the attainment of secular goals my own, and that's my desire in my life, that's ungodly. And the wrath of God, it will be revealed against that. The spirit of man is the lamp of the Lord, searching all the innermost parts of his being. God is going to search out. He has promised to do that. We need to test ourselves. We need to self-assess. Hey, am I really doing this? Am I really trying? Do I really want to be healed? Do I want to get well? And then lastly, importantly, we need to obey. We need to obey what it is that God has revealed to us. The sheep hear his voice. He calls out his own sheep by name and leads them out. That's a beautiful verse. But the question comes to my mind right away, am I listening for that voice? Do I even hear it? Or is his voice lost amid all the rumble of the world about me and my own earthly pursuits? That's just hearing his name, hearing your name that he calls out. What about this leads them out? Jesus might be trying to lead you out, but maybe you're not doing such a great job at following. That's the key. Blessed is the slave whom his master finds so doing when he comes. Blessed is the slave who the master finds doing so. Following, looking after him. It's a blessing. But you know what? Jesus asks a very poignant question. He says, when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on the earth? Do you see that? Will he find faith? The question really is for you and I, hey, do I want to get well? Am I willing to follow Jesus? Am I willing to climb to Bible ground? Am I willing to put in the time, the effort, and the intention, and the honesty, and the openness, and the sincerity of sincere Bible study, of looking for Christ? That's our question today. And when Jesus is talking to you, he's talking to you. And he's asking you, do you want to get well? The first lesson we had was, who do you say I am? And now we just did, do you want to get well? Next time, the question is, how many loaves do you have? How many loaves do you have? That's our next lesson together. I would encourage you to subscribe. There's some contact data in there, right there. You'll be happy to maybe get a hold of me. I'll get a hold of you. It'd be great. Until then, may God bless you.